Both of you in a minute now. We look at a significant move made by France. In a landmark move, which French President Emmanuel Macron has announced that France will officially recognize a Palestinian state this September at the United Nations General Assembly. This would make France the first G7 nation to take that step. Macron has called for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the release of hostages, and urgent humanitarian aid access. Palestinian officials and Hamas praised the decision as a step towards justice and self-determination. Saudi Arabia hailed it as historic and urged other countries to follow. While Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said it strengthens the two-state solution against Netanyahu's policies. This is how Palestinians are reacting to the news.
اعتراف فرنسا بالدولة الفلسطينية هو هذا التزام أخلاقي من فرنسا، دولة الحرية والدولة التي تنادي بالقانون وسيادة القانون وانضمامها بالقانون الدولي، فبالتالي هذا الاعتراف هو نصر سياسي للشعب الفلسطيني، ومطلوب أيضا من فرنسا أن تتخذ أيضا إجراءات عقابية ضد دولة الاحتلال على الجرائم المقترفة في قطاع غزة.
ممنونين كثير لهذا الموقف الفرنسي. كان في مجموعة من المقدمات اللي وقت زيارة الرئيس الفرنسي لجرحى غزة في مصر، وكان عنده تصريحات جيدة، كانت تصريحاته إنسانية وحقيقية، وحاول أنه يحط النقاط على الحروف. احنا بنتمنى أنه هذا الاعتراف ياخذ لمحل لوقف المقتلة اللي في قطاع غزة. هذا الاعتراف يؤدي إلى اعتراف جملة أو الكثير من الدول أوروبا والعالم بفلسطين.
But Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu strongly condemned the move, saying it rewards terror and risks creating a new Iranian proxy. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio called it a reckless decision. Now we go back to our guest discussion with Jordan Cope. He's a Middle East affairs expert, and Noor Osama Nugali. She's an assistant editor-in-chief of Arab News. Now, Noor, I would like to see your reaction on this news. You've already kind of touched down on it a little bit in our previous discussion, but can you tell us more about your reaction on this news?
As we've been covering this issue for many years, especially the past 2 years since the war on Gaza started, we've seen lots of the world really shedding light and seeing exactly what's taking place in Gaza. People are not blind to the starvation, to the killing, to the distraught that's taking place. They're seeing homes being abolished. They are seeing children being orphaned. And it's unfortunate. Yes, war does happen. But on this level, we find humanitarian aid, which even Saudi Arabia has sent via King Salman Relief Center, just on the borders, not really reaching the people, and now they're starving to death. So when an announcement comes from the from France, initiating that they will recognize Palestine as a state, it is more than welcomed. Obviously, we look forward to seeing what's going to take place next week at the conference that's being held by Saudi Arabia and France in New York in the UN, inshallah, and we hope that good news will follow. I believe everyone in the world at this moment just wants a ceasefire, wants to ensure the safety of all, and hopes and prays for peace and prosperity for all. But we cannot have that happen unless the ceasefire takes place, unless the Palestinians' plot is recognized and they are humanely treated, even though they are going through this. It's no easy task, but the whole world is watching, and we pray for the best.
Yes, and now I would like to see Jordan's reaction on this news, France's recognition of a Palestinian state.
I think it's a morally terrible precedent. Simply put, this war could have ended 2 years ago had Hamas simply surrendered and released all of the hostages. Hamas on October 7th, as I need to remind people because it doesn't seem that the Israeli hostages are much of a concern when it comes to other speakers, but there have been 50 people who have been in the depths of hell underneath the Gaza Strip, which had every chance to develop itself over the past decades, and the billions of dollars of humanitarian aid that have come in. We talk about humanitarian sentiment all the time. The question is, why did the Palestinian leadership not develop its own people? It had so many opportunities to do so. Simply put, because of internal corruption, billions of dollars going to Palestinian leaders. But when it comes to actual international law matters, let's move away from the terrible, morally reckless decision that this will ultimately create precedent for. It will reward terrorism. It will reward the Hamas terrorists for their attacks on October 7th. It will reward the Palestinian people, 50% of whom, unto today, still support the October 7th attacks. It's a significant deviation as well from international law. As noted in Knox versus the Palestine Liberation Organization in a US district court, the PLO and its territories simply do not meet the definition of statehood as defined under the Montevideo Convention. There are two specific criteria out of the four listed that the PLO and its leadership, or the Palestinian Authority and its leadership, have failed to establish, those being a government that can assert control over its territory, and in addition to that, the ability to exercise international relations. And as we've learned under the Oslo Accords and under the interim agreement, these agreements specifically prevent Palestinian leadership from exercising these privileges. But going back to France, I want to talk specifically about Macron, a president who has 19% approval rating. It is the lowest approval rating of any French president in the history of the Republic. It is one of the lowest approval ratings in the entirety of the world. And a reason, in part, for why his approval rating is so low is because he is a leader who has failed to demonstrate a moral backbone, to demonstrate strength when terrorist attacks continue to consume his country, when the Middle East is in turmoil, and instead of advocating for democratic allies of France, he continues to advocate on behalf of solutions that award terrorism, that award rape, that award beheading victims, that award burning them alive, and that neglect allies that have fought wars, even in the most difficult of circumstances, making sure to protect civilian lives as much as possible, and to ultimately damn allies of France that have gone well and beyond to ensure the inflow of over 2.1 million tons of aid. Israel has allowed more humanitarian aid into Gaza during this war than it previously allowed.
Jordan, please allow me to, we'll come back to you for our next guest discussion. And that was Noor and Jordan with us. Thank you very much for joining us today. Jordan, please stay with us as we'll come back to you in a minute. Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer has announced he will hold an emergency